There are places in Middle-earth where the light itself seems to flee, where ancient stones whisper of wars lost to time, and the very air reeks of long-forgotten curses. From the jagged towers of Mordor to the corrupted halls of Angband and the spectral glow of Minas Morgul, these are the evil realms of Middle-earth, each one a wound in the world, carved by darkness, ruled by malice, and soaked in the blood of ages past. But how were these lands twisted so far beyond redemption? Who ruled them, and what nightmares did they unleash upon the free peoples? Welcome back to the channel. Let's get started. It's impossible to talk about the evil realms without beginning with Mordor, the very crucible of the Third Age's greatest darkness. Nestled between the Duath and arid Lithui mountain ranges, Mordor wasn't chosen by accident. Sauron picked it for its natural defensibility, its bleak isolation, and the geothermal forces bubbling beneath Mount Doom, Orodruin, the volcano where he forged the One Ring. But Mordor wasn't just a fortress, it became a machine of war. The land was stripped of life. Rivers were poisoned, the skies clouded with ash, and legions of orcs, trolls, and men were bred and drilled in the fortresses of Barad-dûr and Cirith Ungol. In the barren Plateau of Gorgoroth, the land itself seems to bleed hatred. Interestingly, Mordor was once just a wasteland, untouched, unclaimed. It was Sauron who made it evil, a clear example of how, in Tolkien's world, evil corrupts not just hearts, but also geography. Long before Sauron's rise, there was Morgoth, once Melkor, the mightiest of the Valar, and his seat of power in the First Age was Angband, the Iron Prison. Located in the far north of Beleriand, beneath the shadow of the Thangorodrim Mountains, Angband was carved into the roots of the earth. Here, Morgoth ruled with iron and flame, surrounded by his greatest abominations, Balrogs, dragons, and legions of orcs twisted from captured elves. Angband was a hellscape. Its forges never cooled, and the screams of tortured souls echoed through its halls. From here, Morgoth unleashed war after war upon the elves and men of the First Age. It was in Angband that dragons like Glaurung were bred, and it was here that the Silmarils were hoarded. When the War of Wrath finally brought it down, it wasn't just a military victory, it was the toppling of hell itself. In the southern reaches of Mirkwood, hidden among twisted trees and ever-present gloom, rose Dol Guldur, the Hill of Sorcery. Originally called Amon Lank, this was once a fair place, but it became a blight when Sauron, disguised as the Necromancer, took residence there after losing the One Ring. For centuries, he rebuilt his strength here, gathering spirits, wraiths, and dark creatures. Dol Guldur turned Mirkwood into a haunted forest. Giant spiders, descendants of Ungoliant, spread from its heart. Trees became malevolent, the forest paths untrustworthy. Even the elves of Lothlorien dared not come too close. It was here that Gandalf first confirmed that Sauron had returned. The darkness of Dol Guldur wasn't just in its ruins, but in its secrecy, a slow corruption, cloaked in shadow until it was too late. It took the combined strength of Galadriel, Elrond, and the White Council to finally drive Sauron from Dol Guldur in 2941, proving just how far his reach had already spread, long before the War of the Ring began. Even older than Angband was Utumno, Morgoth's original stronghold built in the depths of the world itself, in the far north of Arda. This was where the Dark Lord first set foot upon Middle-earth and began his great rebellion against the Valar. Utumno was a place of unspeakable horror. Here, Melkor created the first orcs, corrupted from captured elves, one of the darkest acts in all of Tolkien's mythology. He also spawned creatures like trolls and corrupted spirits. The Valar waged war to destroy Utumno in the Battle of the Powers, an event so cataclysmic it changed the geography of the world. Yet the scars of Utumno never fully healed. Its legacy would live on in Angband and later in Mordor. Utumno reminds us that the foundations of evil in Tolkien's world run deep, sometimes literally. Once known as Minas Ithil, the Tower of the Moon was a shining outpost of Gondor, built to guard against Mordor. But during the Third Age, it fell into darkness and became Minas Morgul, the Tower of Dark Sorcery. Once a radiant beacon of Gondor and home to Isildur, Minas Ithil fell to the Nazgul in 2002 of the Third Age. Its white towers twisted into the green glowing corpse we now know as Minas Morgul. Its light turned sickly green, the air became putrid, the water foul. It was a mockery of its former beauty, and its walls pulsed with unnatural light, like a rotting wound that glowed in the dark. From here, the Witch King led assaults on Gondor. It was also the gateway to Cirith Ungol and Shelob's lair, more horrors waiting in the shadows. Minas Morgul is one of Tolkien's most vivid symbols of fallen glory, a place where light was not only extinguished, but reversed. Though often lumped with Mordor, the Plateau of Gorgoroth deserves its own mention. This desolate wasteland surrounding Mount Doom was the very crucible of Sauron's power. It was not merely a battlefield, it was a place of dark genesis. Here, Sauron poured his malice into the One Ring. The land itself convulsed with power, feeding from the fires of Orodruin. Even the rocks and air felt sentient, oppressive. Gorgoroth is the heart of hopelessness. Frodo and Sam's journey across it is one of the most painful and symbolic treks in the entire saga, across a land that physically breaks you down as you walk. North of Mordor lies a place where the past never sleeps, the Dead Marshes. During the Battle of Dagorlad at the end of the Second Age, thousands of elves, men, and orcs perished. The land soaked in death and, over time, became a haunted bog. The spirits of the dead appear just beneath the water, ghostly faces of the fallen, preserved by dark enchantment or cursed memory. Gollum warns Frodo not to follow the lights that dance above the waters, lest he be pulled into the mire. These lights, sometimes called corpse candles, are said to lure the living toward watery graves. Even the air is foul, thick with rot and a strange, almost sentient silence. Birds avoid the place, no trees grow, and the ground squelches with every reluctant step, as if the land itself wants to swallow intruders whole. The Dead Marshes are not inherently evil in origin, but they have become a realm of unquiet death, a reminder that even in victory, the cost of war leaves permanent scars. In the frozen north of Middle-earth once stood Angmar, a realm of ice and terror ruled by the Witch King of the Nazgul. Founded in the Third Age specifically to destroy the northern Dunedain, Angmar waged a centuries-long war against Arnor, splitting and shattering the once great kingdom. Angmar succeeded in shattering Arnor, the ancient northern kingdom of the Dunedain. It wasn't until the Battle of Fornos that the Witch King was finally driven out, but by then, the damage was done. The Witch King ruled from Carn Dûm, a fortress buried in frost and dark sorcery. Angmar was not merely a military power, it was a psychological one. The Witch King used fear, betrayal, and necromancy to weaken his enemies from within. Even after its eventual defeat by the forces of Gondor and the elves of Lindon, Angmar remained a place few dared approach. A kingdom built solely for the destruction of others, Angmar stands as a testament to evil as a long game, patient, calculating, and utterly merciless. Evil is not passive in Middle-earth. It builds, it spreads, and it stains the land long after its masters are gone. From the deepest pits of Utumno to the watchful walls of Minas Morgul, these realms weren't just battlefields. They were manifestations of will, strongholds built from corruption, fueled by despair, and shaped to oppose the harmony of Ilúvatar's vision. Even when the towers fall and the forges cool, these places remain poisoned. Tolkien understood that darkness, once unleashed, doesn't vanish with the death of its master. It watches, patient and hungry, waiting for the next hand to reach for the crown of shadow. Which of these dark realms chilled you the most, or surprised you with its twisted history? Let me know in the comments below. And if walking through the shadowed corners of Middle-earth stirred your curiosity, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more lore deep dives into Tolkien's world. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you on the next one.